going back to where we started here in examining the difference between the yoga process and religion per se, that there is this requirement to cultivate an actual understanding of the reality of things. And when you begin acting on those facts, then you will automatically be acting from a platform of actual wisdom. So one of the famous promoters of the yoga system, and primarily the Ashtanga yoga system, was a very great sage. We are using sage here in the most profound way. His name was Patanjali, and he compiled what were called the Yoga Sutras. A sutra is a short, sometimes cryptic, quite often pithy and to the point statement of fact. And it requires generally a good foundation, to really appreciate what has been stated. So in this Yoga Sutra, which is made up of 4, we'll call chapters, in the first chapter, in the 8th verse, Patanjali, he states that incorrect knowledge formed about something which is not based on its true nature is called false understanding or misconception. So I know a lot of people listening to this is like, what? I'll read it one more time, the particular verse, and then we'll discuss so you can perhaps begin to appreciate the relevance of this statement and how profound and how important it is in people's life. Incorrect knowledge formed about something which is not based on its true nature is called false understanding or a misconception. So I will talk now just briefly about one example of this. If you ask most people the fundamental question, who are you? Please write a few sentences describing yourself. Who are you? In 99.999% of the cases, people will begin something like, my name is, and they'll give you a name. I am a male or female. I am this height. I am this weight. I have this type of complexion. My hair is like this. They will start listing physical characteristics. And they will say, this is me. This is who I am. Problem is, this is not a scientific reality. And we see that when a person dies and we are suddenly confronted with a body. And there is a common notion that people have that when a person dies, they have somehow gone somewhere. They have gone away from the body. But if I take the list out and I start reading it and I'm checking it against the body, how heavy is it? We can weigh it. And how tall is it? We can measure, and we can check the hair out and the eye color, and we can go through this massive list. And you can say, okay, still here, Jimmy boy, this is Jimmy boy. And everybody's going like, you know, this guy's gone nuts. We all know that Jimmy has left. This is only a remnant that is left behind. A semblance of who Jimmy was. This is not Jimmy. It does not take any unique powers of observation to see this reality. I mean, somebody has a pet and they get locked into their pet. They're in love with their pet, and they hear a screech of tires and they freak out and swing the door open, and there it is. Their dog or cat has just been hit by a car or a vehicle that was going by, and it's dead on the road. Do they go, no problem, that's the pet, still there, not moving now, but it's still the pet? No, there's immediately a traumatic experience. There is this feeling that now I have been ripped away from. I have been taken away from the object of my love, my companion. This happens in life also, you know, parents with children, a child dies. It's so, I mean, if you witness the death of a child and the reaction of a parent when it's right in front of you, it's like, especially when it is very sudden, it makes your hair stand on end. I can remember observing a serious accident here one time in the Philippines, and what they have here are these jeepneys. It's kind of like this open vehicle, and they pack all the people in the back, and it was like on Christmas Eve. And the driver was obviously drunk, and they came around a corner and he went into the gravel, started swaying a little bit, and then all of a sudden the Jeep just tumbling down the road towards us. We were coming towards it. And there's people flying out of it everywhere because there's no windows or anything on it, just all this open space. In the tropics, it's a very refreshing way to travel. But, you know, there's people all over the place. So, you know, we started braking, and as soon as we stopped, I jumped out and I looked, and there was this old man, and he looked completely dazed, but he seemed to be kind of okay. He was about 70. And then I suddenly heard this wailing, and I looked over, and there was this woman. She had been looking around and now threw herself on the road. She was kind of like kneeling and then threw herself, and she's beating the road, asphalt, and it's ripping up her hands, and she's just screaming and wailing. And I did not even have to speculate. I immediately knew one of her children is dead. One of her children is probably dead. And I looked around, and everybody's kind of in shock, and I had to just scream at people to get them to snap out of their shock. So I knew that there was somebody trapped under the side of the Jeep, so get all the guys on it, and, you know, together we lift. And as soon as you lift, see these two little feet under there. You know, there was this child, and the Jeep had crushed its chest, so there's blood pouring out of its mouth. I knew you couldn't just pick the child up because broken ribs will probably pierce the lungs and the other organs. So I sent somebody to I went to just run to get a blanket out of the back of our vehicle to slide the body onto so we could try and rush it to a hospital. And you witness the devastation of, you know, seeing this child slowly dying, gurgling, drowning in his own blood, and continued in the hospital. We went there, and the doctor tried to do something. It was a provincial hospital. There's nothing much that could be done. The mother was just screaming and wailing, and they'd taken her away, and they were trying to keep her away because it was just interfering with the, you know, in the emergency ward and the doctor had to make choices. They see the baby, they look at the injuries, and they just don't have the equipment or the personnel. There was nothing they could do apart from sort of suction a little blood out of its mouth, move on to the next person, bad fractures and other types of injuries, work on those that you can save and do something with. So when you're exposed to this type of reality where someone is torn away from you, someone that you care about and you feel an intense affection for, you know, the body is still there. It may be a little bit broken, and in a lot of cases it will be intact. A bad head injury that's not even visible externally, and the person can die. And when somebody looks at that body, there is this, it's like your heart is being torn out of your chest, because there is a direct perception that this body is not the person. My child has died, my child has gone. This is what's left is not my child.